What's going on, Zeke-ollege football fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Totally Biased tier list. Um, Now, I will say to start off this episode, uh, go watch the other ones first, obviously. Uh, It'll make a lot more sense if you watch the other ones first. You're probably going to be like, oh, what? How dare you rank this team like that? But again, uh, totally biased. Uh, this is not a list on how well I think teams are going to do next year. This is a list that is revealing my biases as a college football fan. It is a list that I make every single year. This is the first year that I'm filming it, but I make this every single year as a sort of cheat sheet where I can tune into a game and know who I'm rooting for. Um, uh, it's a great way to learn all the teams and to really get a feel for what you like in a team, what you don't like in a team, stuff like that. So it's something that I advise a lot of new college football fans to do, um, just to see what they have out there, see all these teams, because there's a lot of them. 134, it's a lot. But to look and to see all of the teams and know which ones, hey, I like this team. Hey, I don't like this team. So just want to clear the air. This is not a list of how well I think teams are going to do next year. Because if it was, I don't think Ohio State's going to be the worst team. Is it my least favorite team? Yes. But I don't think they're going to finish 134th. I don't think they're going to go winless. Same with Kansas. I don't think they're going to go winless. Although Kansas does have history of that. Either way, this is a list based on just strictly how much I like these teams. And speaking of like, that's the tier that we're in today. We're in the like tier. We're getting to teams that I actually care about and care about positively, which is nice. I love spreading positivity more than anything. And I finally get a chance to do that. I felt like the other couple parts have been a little negative. Um, but no, we get a chance to talk about teams that I like, which is fun. Another quick little side note before we get started. Go over to Zeke.ollege football on Instagram. I'm doing a little series over there, revealing which team will be the first team I'm going to rebuild on the new EA college football game. I have most recently whittled it down to 10. And on Monday, I'm releasing my top five. I don't get a chance to play the game until Friday, a week from uh, today is when I'm recording. I'm recording this on a Friday, but until the 19th is when I get to play. I did not get the premium because I don't play Ultimate Team like that, so it wasn't really worth spending an extra 20, $30. But either way, revealing which teams are in my top five, and then I'm hoping to do a sort of live stream over there where I reveal my top pick for who I'm going to rebuild first. But with that out of the way, let's get started where we left off. We left off at number 50 with the Cal Golden Bears of the ACC. Good old Atlantic Coast, California. Um, but let's get started here today. So there's a lot of teams in this tier that have elements that I like, but also elements holding them back. And I think the biggest sort of belief in elements holding them back for me right now is I'm looking and I'm seeing the Texas Longhorns. Now, Texas, they're good. They're a good team. Are there other teams in the SEC that I like better than Texas? Yes. Yes, there are. Are there teams that I can look at and say, well, okay, Texas has garnered a lot of media attention, and a lot of it has been pretty positive, talking about Arch Manning as their backup, talking about Quinn Ewers, talking about how they are finally back. And that's great. I like Texas. I do. I like them better than Texas Tech. I like them better than Oklahoma. But when it comes to Texas and the SEC, they've kind of waltzed in and acted like they own the place, for lack of a better term. And I don't know, I feel like that's it's not exactly what I want to see from Texas. Uh I get the whole, we're finally back to prominence, but just act like you've been there. So that's Texas down at 49. Moving forward, we're gonna put down. I think we're gonna put down NC State next. Now, NC State, a team that I've had um in that sort of like middle tier, the mediocre tier, if you will. Um, in the past, what bumped them up this year was the addition of Grayson McCall. I really like Grayson McCall as a QB. I think he's a good prospect. I I liked him when he played at Coastal. He was one of the reasons why I really liked Coastal. But he's now with NC State. He's really one of the main reasons I like what Dave Doran's doing over there. But again, NC State, eh, better than Texas, but number 48. Now, I'm going to put Georgia State down here at 47. Georgia State uh, is a team that got shredded by transfer portal. They were really in an unfortunate circumstance. Their head coach left for South Carolina, but to be a position coach at South Carolina because it paid more. And they have that underdog status to them because of this. But um, the uniforms leave a little bit to be desired. I really like the name Panthers as a team name. But Georgia State going in at 47. At 46, that's going to be where we see, oh gosh. Now, again, recording all of this live to you guys. The Arizona Wildcats down at 46 here. Arizona, a team that is, or at least was, on the rise with Jed Fish. He leaves for Washington. They bring in San Jose State's Brent Brennan. Again, good coach. I like him. I like the pieces that they have. I like Noah Fafita. I like Tetroa McMillan. I like those pieces more than I like the Arizona Wildcats, if that makes sense. Uh, so that's why they're going to go down at 46. Um, All right, let's see. I think I'm gonna go Iowa State next. Now, the Iowa State Cyclones are a very interesting team. Matt Campbell, doing a good job again at Iowa State, building that up into a respectable program. Um, they have they have pieces that I like. I like Rocco Becht. Um, I think he did a great job last year. Uh, just they did a redesign of the uniforms. The uniforms are fine. I've seen a lot of discourse about uniforms recently and about how Nike has the same sort of cookie cutter uniforms. And it's true. You see the same sort of patterns, the two or three stripes on the sleeve. It does look the same. Uh, Now I like that design. Again, I wish that it wasn't for every team, but I think it's fine. I think Iowa State's not my favorite version of that, but they do a fine job. Color scheme is fine. There's just some other teams that I like a little bit better than Iowa State on this list. And one of those teams is going to come off the board right here. It's going to be North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is in an interesting spot right now because for the past really 5 years, 6 years, they've had pretty darn good quarterback talent that's on their team. They had Drake May, and before him, they had Sam Howell. And then they had like a little gap period. But then uh, they had Mitch Trubisky before that. They've been in a pretty good spot for QBs. Not this year. Not this year. They have Max Johnson, who came over from Texas A&M, former LSU quarterback. They have Jacoby Criswell, uh, former Arkansas quarterback, as the backup. They're not in that same spot that they were. Um, Now their uniforms, big thumbs up. They look pretty good. Those are good looking uniforms. But I wish that they were a little bit more secure at the QB spot because again, as just like a baseline to look at a program, you have to have, something there, and they just don't really have anything very interesting there right now. Let's see. And put the Oregon Ducks next. So Oregon going at 43. Again, I like a lot of what they've brought in. Dan Lanning, again, doing a real solid job. They had a New Year's Six bowl win last year. Um, Only lost to one team. They happened to lose to that team twice, but they other than Washington, they beat everyone else. And typically, I like Oregon's uniforms. Now, uh, I did get a little bit of hate when I said that their uniforms were how a fifth grader dresses himself uh, when they're wearing some of their highlighter colors. But overall, I like Oregon's uniforms. They play a very exciting style of offense. I'm excited to see how they do in the Big 12, or pardon me, Big 10. Uh, they are one of the teams that I can see competing with Ohio State. They beat them back in 2021. So, they're a good team, and they're a team that I would root for over a lot of other teams. Uh, but I think 43 is the right spot for them here. Now, up next, we are going to put. See, now is where it's getting tough. Uh, this is tough. I'm gonna put Wisconsin down next. Wisconsin at 42 cents, right? Wisconsin Badgers. Now, Luke Fickell, again, head coach that I like. I liked him when he was over at Cincinnati. I like some of what he's putting together at Wisconsin. That being said, I'm not sold on Tyler Van Dyke as the long-term future. I think that they should bring in uh someone else because I don't think that Van Dyke is going to be that sort of savior for them. Now, long gone are the days of Graham Mertz over there. He struggled um, at Wisconsin in Paul Christ's system. Uh, the options that they've had for the past couple of years are iffy at best. But Wisconsin has a distinct brand of offense. They run the ball, and I played offensive line uh, for 10 years of my life, all the way back to Pop Warner. I like teams that run the football and run it well. And Wisconsin's one of those teams. So for that, they'll go at 42. Now we'll put Michigan down. Michigan going down at 41. Wolverines, defending national champions. Jim Harbaugh's no longer there. You know, Sharon Moore taking over for that program. They lost a lot of pieces. They're going to look like a very different team than they did last year. Now, I have a lot of faith in the Michigan coaching staff. Um, I don't know who they're going to play at quarterback. It's trending like it's going to be Alex Orji. Uh, so most likely going to be more run heavy. And like I just mentioned with Wisconsin, I like a good run heavy scheme. There's a clip from uh the movie The Blind Side where Sandra Bullock's character calls over to the high school coach on the sideline. She's like, hey coach, how about you run the damn football? And I relate to that on a lot of levels because again, I like a good run game. Michigan has a good run game. Donovan Edwards is back. They'll have a good run game with him at the very least, becoming an offensive line factory. But I wish they went back to the maize pants, the yellow pants, because I'm not loving the look of the blue with the blue. Uh, I think that it would look a little bit better if they went back to yellow pants. But 41, I think, is a good spot for them. I'm gonna put Sam Houston down at number 40. They spell Bearcats with a K. I think that's a little quirky. I think that's fun. I also like their color scheme. Orange is my favorite color. Orange and white. Can't go wrong with it. For 39, that's where I'm gonna put. Who am I gonna put at 39? I think I'm gonna go Miami here. Mm, mm, gonna go Pitt, then Miami. So Panthers, then the Miami Hurricanes. So Pitt is going down here. They've gotten hard carried by their uniforms all the way up here. Their uniforms look fantastic. I really like the rebrand to the 80s style, um, where the 70s and 80s style, where they have the vibrant blue and the yellow. I think it looks great. I think their uniforms are very clean. Their QB battle this year, again, a little iffy. Um, Pitt just doesn't have a lot of guys on their team. Actually, if you go over and you check, uh, who is in my top 10 to rebuild, um, over on Instagram, one of the teams in that uh is Pitt, because I think that they have great uniform combinations. It's a more open ACC, but I think that they're a team that could use a rebuild. Um, to get them back to prominence. Because they have not been the same since Kenny Pickett left. The year with Keaton Slovis was fine, but they really fell off last year. Really fell off last year. So, can they get back to that spot? Maybe Eli Holstein will do something. Uh, Alabama transfer, but who knows? And then for Miami, another team in the ACC, I was just thinking between these two, if they're matched up next year, who would I root for? And I think I would root for Miami in that game. I like Damian Martinez, Oregon State running back who they got in the transfer portal. I like Cam Ward, quarterback who they got from Washington State. Uh, they're the biggest thing holding them back is Mario Cristobal right now. We all saw that Georgia Tech game. Uh, Heck, I've done things like that Georgia Tech game in a video game, but that's because it's a video game. When it comes to real life and watching, players, sending players out there, you don't stat pad. You win the game. And they didn't do that. So 38 for Miami, I think seems fine for me. Now for 37, what are we gonna put for 37? Gonna put down Tulane at 37. So I like a lot of the pieces that Tulane has, especially looking forward, projecting for next year. I think that they'll be a very good team. Will they win the AAC? Maybe they might. Ty Thompson coming over from Oregon. It's a good piece. Mario Williams coming over from USC. Another good piece. I like the hiring of John Summerall. You get your head coach, Willie Fritz, poached by Houston. You find another phenomenal replacement. Summerall, by all means, should be a Power Four coach. Great get for Tulane. But with all that being said, I'm not the hugest fan of the AAC. It's not my favorite conference. Uh, and Tulane is one of the teams that I'd root for in that conference, but not sold on the AAC, and that hurts Tulane here, and that's one of the reasons why they're down at 37. Because you can distinctly see that there are some conferences that are very highly represented in the top part of this list between not just this tier, but also the strongly liked tier as well. Um, I like the Big Ten. I like the SEC. I like the Mountain West. I like a lot of teams in the Sun Belt. Um, couple teams in the MAC, couple teams in the ACC. AAC a little sparsely populated. And actually another one's going to come off the board at 36, UTSA. So UTSA is a very different team than what they've been for the past couple of years. Uh, Frank Harris was a sort of cornerstone for their program. He's gone now, graduated. So it appears, at least from what I've read, that the starting quarterback next year is going to be Owen McCown, Josh McCown's son. He started for them in the Frisco Bowl. I would expect their offense to look a little bit more similar to how it looked in the Frisco Bowl. He's not as agile as Frank Harris was. Um, and he'll develop as well. Again, when you have a good coaching staff, there's a lot to like. I like UTSA's uniforms. Um, I think they're a good program. I do. But there are just other teams that I like. And again, the AAC sort of drops it down a little bit. That's why UTSA is down here at 36. But let's continue moving forward and chugging along, if you will. And I think the next one that we're going to put down is we're going to put down Texas State. So Texas State at 35. I like Bobcats. I like their logo for one. Their logo looks really cool. I like the job that GJ Kinney's doing. They brought over Jordan McLeod, former Sun Belt Player of the Year, on offense. Former JMU quarterback. I'm excited for Texas State moving forward. There are other teams that I like a little bit more in the Sun Belt, though, so that's why they're at 35. But a lot to like for Texas State, absolutely. Let's move forward even further. And I think here is where the New Mexico Lobos are going to go. In at 34, alma mater of Brian Urlacher, the New Mexico Lobos. again, a team that I think they're trending in the right direction. They fired Danny Gonzalez as coach last year, not the YouTuber Danny Gonzalez, but the head coach, or no longer head coach, sorry. Um, but they fired him, brought in Bronco Mendenhall, which sick name by the way. Shout out Bronco Mendenhall, former Virginia head coach. He stepped away for personal reasons from there, but he's back. Uh, Again, I think that they're a program that is moving in the right direction. They were sort of stuck in 3-9, 4-8 limbo for a while. Um, but I also just have a soft spot for the state of New Mexico. My grandparents lived there for a while. Um, you know, I just like the state in general. So I want to see some good football happening in New Mexico. So yeah, the New Mexico Lobos in at 34. I think now is as good of a time as any to finally take out Colorado. Uh, the Buffaloes were a team that I liked a lot more a couple of years ago. They're very down on their luck. They're rough to watch, but they were a team that, you could root for and not get questioned about. They go and hire Deion Sanders. Again, I no hate to what Coach Prime is doing there. I think, he's definitely unconventional, is what I'll say. Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. Travis Hunter, good wide receiver, cornerback, two-way player. It's always nice to see. They're using the transfer portal well. They're going into last year, there was a lot of questions. What will Colorado be like? Will they be good? Will it work? Jury's still out on whether it worked. 4-8, again, huge improvement from where they were as a program. But they brought a lot of media attention, and not all of that attention was good. Uh, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year. If they can show improvement, will they make a bowl game? Uh, are they able to, assert themselves in the Big 12? So we'll have to wait and see on that. Again, I like the state of Colorado as well. Part of this is based on how much I like the states. Again, very personal, biased ranking. Colorado in at 33. At 32 is when I'm going to take Ole Miss off the list. Again, I like the job that Lane Kiffin's doing there at Ole Miss. I think that you look Jackson Dart is a good player. Yeah, they have a lot of good pieces on their team. Brought in a great transfer portal class. There's a lot to look forward to with Ole Miss football. Uh, there are just other teams that I like better in the SEC, and that's why they're going at 32. And for 31 is where I'm going to put down Kennesaw State, newest team to the FBS. Pardon me. Sorry about that, folks. Uh, newest team to the FBS, Kennesaw State. They're a fun story for this year, seeing how they do. I like their uniforms a lot. Um, they're just a very new program in general to college football. Um, it's nice to see that sort of thing where a team sort of rises through the ranks. Certainly an underdog story. I like their color scheme. Not sold on the name Owls, but I made my Owls points known down here or down here or even down here. Like I've made my points known about Owls, but Kennesaw State coming in at 31. Now at number 30 is where we're gonna have Auburn. Again, I love the name Tigers for teams. Auburn, not my favorite version of the Tiger nomenclature, but still good. Uh, I like their uniforms. I like them a lot more than I like Alabama. I'll root for Auburn more often than not. But there are just other teams on this list that I like a little better, and that's the thing. It's just which teams do I like a little bit better? I like some other teams better than Auburn. Uh, One take. That's how we do it, folks. One take. Um, let's move forward. And I'm going to which team I'm going to take away next? Going to take away James Madison next. I like the Dukes. Um, my aunt's alma mater, my uncle's alma mater. They met there. Uh, I like the color scheme. I like gold, purple, very regal, very royal. Um, and I like Bob Chesney from Holy Cross. He's coming in. It's just going to be interesting to see how they sort of rebound losing some of the players that they lost. So 29 for James Madison. In at 28, we're going to have the Florida Gators. They have a very, very tough schedule. Um, very, very tough schedule on the back end. If they make a bowl, it is remarkable. Billy Napier, most likely, I mean, he's already on the hot seat for missing a bowl. Um, and having losing seasons in back-to-back years. That's like almost unheard of over at Florida. So there's a lot to sort of look at there. Graham Mertz did better last year than I think anyone was really expecting. Uh, they're a team that I like to root for unless they're playing against some of the other teams on this list. So, like last year when they were facing off against Missouri, I wasn't rooting for Florida to play spoiler. Um, but when they play some other teams, like they play in Arkansas or something like that, I'll root for Florida. They play Georgia. More often than not, I'll root for Florida. 27. Uh, at 27, we're gonna go with Arizona State. The Sun Devils have a great mascot, great logo, great color scheme. Just a good look to their team. I'm excited to see how they do in the Big 12. much like some of the other Pac-12 former teams. It's going to be interesting to see how they do in a new conference. Um, but they just don't have enough for me right now that compels me to put them in my top 25. Um, let's go with the last team to be cut out of the top 25 is gonna be this is tough. This is tough. So I really like all of these teams for different reasons. Last team cut out of the top 25. It's gonna be Coastal Carolina. Coastal, a former one of the former like top teams of mine. It's definitely not how you spell Chanticleers. Hold on. Coastal Carolina. Gotta make sure. Chanticleers. Oh, I spelled it right. Okay. Um, again, another former top team of mine. They lost a lot. I liked Jamie Chadwell as a head coach. I like Grayson McCall as a quarterback. They lost both of those players. Um, just piece after piece starts to go missing. I like the teal field. It's just a loss of some of the things that really drew me to that team. I'm sure they'll get back up when I get attached to some of the new players, but as of right now, 26 is where they will go. So these are the teams that you're going to see in the top 25. Um, but I'm going to finish up the like tier before we move on to the strongly like tier. So at number 25, the last team in my top 25 for the teams that I like. Again, this is not based on how well I think they're going to do next year. Um, I received a comment the other day saying, you know, these predictions for how these teams are going to do are not great. Yes, because they're not predictions. um, at 25, we're going to go with Syracuse. Um, Otto the Orange cracks me up. Uh, I love Otto the Orange. Um, they added some new pieces to their offense. It should be really good. Uh, there's a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Syracuse fan. Syracuse coming in at 25. At 24, we're gonna have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Um, these two teams have very similar uniforms, very similar just teams in general. Navy, orange. I like Illinois slightly better because I think the name, the Fighting Illini, is just phenomenal. Uh, Luke Altmaier, hopefully he does well. I like Brett Bielema as a coach. So yeah, Illinois. Another one of those teams that are in that little rebuild graphic because I think they could use a rebuild as well. They were a powerhouse back in the day, um, but they just aren't anymore. At 23, we are going to have the Troy Trojans. Uh, they lost some pieces, but you look at the name. I like the name Trojans. Uh, they saw an opportunity being in Troy, Alabama. They're like, hey, let's be the Troy Trojans. And I just love that. Their uniforms are fine. Uh, they lost some pieces, but I still like Troy coming in at 23. Moving forward, let's go to number 22. And for me, number 22 is going to be the UCLA Bruins. Um, this one, they are up this high, mostly because of my good friend Trevor. He is a huge UCLA fan, and I like seeing my friends happy, so I'll root for UCLA a lot more than I have been, uh, just because I like seeing him happy. Uh, they have great uniforms. Uh, a new head coach, new team, the Garb Man, Ethan Garbers at QB. There's pieces to like there. But yeah, UCLA coming in at 22. 21 is where FIU is going to fall. I have a soft spot for Florida International. Um, again, I like the name Panthers. They used to be the Golden Panthers. Um, they're a team that's does have some little brother syndrome to not just one team, but to a couple different teams. They often get compared with FAU, so they tended to do worse. They're in Conference USA. FAU moved from Conference USA over to the American. Uh, they're in Miami. So they get compared to the Miami Hurricanes. There's a famous clip of a fight that happened between FIU and uh, Miami back in 2006. They have historically not been a great team, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, hey, FIU, I'll root for you. Like that underdog story. Also, their Miami Vice uniforms look pretty cool. Their color scheme is pretty cool. I just have a soft spot for FIU. Number 20. So we're whittling down towards the end of the lake tier. Number 20 is where I am going to put Boston College now. My hometown team. I'm a Boston boy. Uh, Boston College is the closest uh, FBS team to me. And I have reasons for liking them other than proximity, but they weren't the team that I really grew up rooting for as much. Boston University, big rivals of BC. I tended to lean more towards BU. Um, in all sports except for football, because BU discontinued their football team back in the 90s. So BC was kind of what we had. Um, I like them better than a lot of teams in the ACC. Uh, really, except for UVA. They're my favorite team in the ACC. But 20 is where they'll go. Uh, not the hugest fan of their uniforms, but they're my hometown team, so I got to show some love. Coming in at number 19. Number 19, we are going to place down. I think it's time to place down Colorado State. I like what Jay Norvell has been cooking over at Colorado State. Uh, I like some of their players. That wide receiver that they have, Horton, very good. Uh, it's another school that my mom went to, Colorado State, so I like them for that reason. Uh, I like the green and gold color scheme that they use. Um, m- my biggest problem with them is they have this one uniform that they'll wear sometimes, and it just does not look good. Uh, it is. See if I can. Uh, they wear this uniform that is orange and green. It doesn't really match their color scheme all that well, so I'm not a huge fan of that one. But Colorado State coming in at number 19. Number 18, we are going to place down. This is tough. We're getting into the tough part. I think I'm going to put down San Jose State. The Spartans, again, really like Spartans as a name for a team. San Jose State has a good color scheme. I like the blue. I like the yellow. Um, Not a huge fan of when they use gray, but they use it very minimally when they do. My biggest issue with San Jose State um, is they lost a couple pieces that really gravitated me towards the team in recent years. Shevin Cordero's gone. Brent Brennan is gone. I'm excited to see how they do in the future. I'll be rooting for them. Also, again, more of a personal thing, but there was a while during COVID where I wasn't able to play NCAA football 14, so I would go on Twitch and I'd watch people rebuilding teams on NCAA 14, and I saw two streamers uh, that were rebuilding teams. One of them, a guy by the name of Hindsight Grim, and then the other one is 49er George. They're both were building up San Jose State. Two separate San Jose State rebuilds, but both of them have great communities and were just extremely nice to me. So shout out to both of them. Um, so go over if you're watching this, go over and support them. I don't know if they're still streaming or not. It's been a while since I've been on Twitch, but yeah, big shout outs to them. Number 17, we are going to have I'm gonna put Central Michigan down. Chip up the Central Michigan Chippewas. Uh, Again, I like a strong run game. They have a strong run game. Some of my favorite uniforms in the MAC conference, the maroon, the gold. It just looks good. They're just a good looking team. Uh, I like that their name is supporting the Native American heritage in the area. Go Chips. Number 16. This is where I'm gonna put down UTEP. Uh, I like the Sun Bowl as a stadium. I like UTEP's color scheme a lot. Uh, they're just a team that's pretty easy to root for. You look at the coach that they hired, he is just fired up. Um, he is psyched to be the coach of UTEP, and it really just makes me, want to root for that program. Uh, Scotty Walden, he just, you know, he showed up to a like a pep rally for the basketball team wearing like body paint. He was hyping up the crowd. That's that's fun. It's just fun. I think the UTEP is again another school that I think is moving in the right direction as well. And then finally, in that like tier, we're gonna finish off with Southern Miss. Uh, Southern Miss, another team that uh, lost some pieces that I liked, but they have great uniforms, a great color scheme. Um, so they don't have Frank Gore Jr. anymore. Again, one of the reasons why I was like, hey, look at Southern Miss go. Uh, but even still, I like a lot of what they're building over there, and I hope that they do well in the future. Now, that will conclude the like tier. The next one is the strongly like tier. So you get to find out, if you don't know already, who my favorite teams are. Well, we started in that top 25 already. Uh, Thank you guys so much for watching. Uh, Again, go check out my Instagram over at Zeke.ollege football over there on Insta. That's where you'll see some of the other posts that I make about who I'm going to be rebuilding. During the actual school year, you'll see like topics that I'll talk about on there. Um, some supplementary content, if you will. Um, but if you like this video, go ahead and drop a like down. Drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if there's something that I can do better. Because I'm still new to this whole YouTube thing. I've been doing it for a little bit now. But I'm open to trying out new things. If there's a topic that you want my opinion on, where you're like, hey, this is something about college football that I want to know how you feel about that. Let me know. I'm always open for new video suggestions. So with that being said, thank you guys once again for supporting the channel. We are a community that is growing, and it really brightens my day every single time when I look and I'm seeing some of the engagement, seeing people, liking the videos, new subscribers flowing in. I try my best to respond to every single one of the comments that get left, um, because that's what I'm trying to do here, trying to foster a community, and it's nice to see that people care, and that people like what I'm doing. And if they don't like what I'm doing, it's nice to see feedback as well on what I can do better. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in the next episode.